My little mini demo today is a little bit about scoring and slipping, mostly so you guys can understand a little bit what a slip is made of and how to make it and that sort of thing. Remember, it's crucial to have it to make sure when you're joining pieces of clay together with those. So I have an example that I'm going to make here. Here's one piece of clay, and I'm going to join to it another piece of clay 1 and clay 2. But let's talk about the slip first. So slip is a mixture of clay and water on that, and so most of you are going to get something like this, and you'll probably notice it's just powdered clay, which is kind of cool, powdery stuff. So they've taken the clay, they've dried it out, and they've ground it up into this powder on those. And remember I said it's a mixture of clay and water? Look, water. So we're going to mix in a little bit of water with it, and then take your clay, and then you can just use one of your wooden knife tool to kind of stir it up and mix it together like that, and it'll become kind of goopy, and that's how you make slip. Now if your slip dries out, then you can add more water. Yeah, go figure. But here's the thing, sometimes it gets a little bit harder. If that's the case, if you let the clay dry out completely, like 100%, and then add water, it'll actually break down a little bit more, a little bit easier. But notice it's just kind of a thick, goopy, sort of gloppy thing now, which is what we want for joining things together. Okay? All right, so I have my slip ready to go. Meanwhile, back at joining things together here. Remember the steps we have for joining things together is first you need to scratch the surface. That's called scoring on both surfaces. So I've made this surface ready to scratch here. This one here, I'm going to take and I'm going to scratch that surface as well, where I can join them together. So scoring number 1, putting some slip on there is number 2, and that should probably go on both sides. And just kind of glop it on there. You could use a brush, any sort of transfer medium that you have to get the slip into that location will work. So that was thing number 2. Now you can go back in, and this is kind of a mixy sort of thing. Some people like to double slip. You don't necessarily need to, but some people like to and swear by it. So I'll show you what that means anyway. That's just doing the scoring and slipping twice. And that mixes the clay on the surface is the reason for that. Then we take this piece here and we put it right where we want it, and then we press it down. Okay, so I'm taking here and I'm pressing it together so that it'll stay. So pressure is the final thing that we have to do in order to get the things to join together. And it will stay on that one. Right now it's still, you can move things around just a slight bit on those if you need to. But that's the things you need to do to join the clay together, is scoring and slipping. I mentioned it in the decorated pinch pot when we're putting the feet on, but I did want to make sure that you guys are aware of this, because it's one thing that a lot of people forget quite quickly, is making sure that they're scoring and slipping. And mixing up the slip and making sure that that's ready to go. The reason why we wanted a waterproof container, or one that we can seal on here, is now the slip won't dry out and we're sitting ready to go. So if we have a container like this to hold the slip in, you're good to go. And that way everybody can have a personalized slip container. I think that's it. Let's continue on with our assignments.